Miami and Ohio State are going toe-to-toe once again on the recruiting trail. 2 weeks ago, it was the Buckeyes. They went into South Florida. They landed coveted linebacker TJ Alfred. This week, though, it was Miami's turn. On Monday, they went into the state of Ohio and pulled top 15 tight end out of Cincinnati, Luka Gilbert. And in this video, we're going to break down the recruiting rivalry these teams have right now. Izubee Charles of Canesport is here with me. But before we get going, Miami fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're talking Canes recruiting all offseason long, so go ahead, jump on board, hit subscribe. All right, let's bring on Izubee Charles from Canesport. Now, Izubee, before we get into the Ohio State-Miami battles on the trail, we got some big news that just came down today. On3, Steve Wiltfong. Moments ago, we got a Fong bomb. He made a prediction for Miami to land elite edge Zion Grady, one of the best edges in the country. Now, what's the word? Now, Zion Grady was on campus over the weekend, so what's the word coming out of Miami after this visit?
Yeah, you can't go wrong listening to Mr. Fong. And, coming out that visit, Grady saying all the right things about Miami, obviously a former Bama commit, and Miami's been making a very, very strong push since he backed off that pledge earlier this year. They've got him down to campus twice in the last 3 months, which is always a good sign. He loved this recent visit down to Miami. He said he got a real in-depth look at it. Last time he visited was during their junior day, so a lot of chaotic things going on. This time he got up close and personal with that Hurricane staff. And a guy that's leading that recruitment is none other than, Hall of Fame defensive end Jason Taylor. What better guy to recruit you than, a guy that's been at that highest level and is regarded as one of the best at his position to ever play in the NFL. So Taylor's all over that. The Hurricanes are all over Grady, and I think they're in a very, very good spot to land that Alabama 4-star defensive end, after this recent visit.
You got a timetable on this? Are we expecting this to happen soon?
I think, it's never easy to pinpoint a date, but, things are looking really good for them with, coming off this visit, always that post-visit high. He said a lot of great things about it. So I wouldn't be shocked to see this, come rather sooner than later.
Okay. Now, on Monday, as I alluded to, the Canes pulled 6'7", 225-pound tight end Luka Gilbert out of the grips of Ohio State. They landed, but that might not be the last Ohio State-Miami battle at the tight end position, because Brock Schott out of Leo, Indiana, it seems like another one that the Buckeyes and Canes are battling over. So, Izubee, does Miami need two tight ends in this class, and is Schott a top target?
Yeah, I think that's Miami's plan in the 2025 cycle, bring in two guys. Last year in the 2024 class, they brought in Elijah Lofton, the lone tight end in that recruitment class. And, he's a dynamic playmaker. We've heard about the great things he's been doing in the spring. And that's kind of what tight ends coach Cody Waddell wants to bring in that tight end room. Dynamic guys who can play multiple positions, in that offense and make big plays. And, Gilbert's that type of guy, and so is Brock Schott, two of the best tight ends in that 2025 class. And I do think Miami's in a great position with Schott. He recently came out and said it straight up, hey, Ohio State and Miami are my top two schools. That's what I'm really focused on. And, after landing Luka Gilbert, I think Miami has their sights on Schott and a few other guys that are really high on that board, including, 2025, number one tight end in the class, Elias Williams, who was on campus as well, Georgia commit. So Miami's trying to bring out the big dogs for this, tight end class. Last year didn't have so much success on the field. They're trying to change that, kind of bring back that tight end U moniker. So going to be interesting to see that recruitment of the tight ends moving forward.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember Miami as tight end U. And, like you said, after a couple down years, this class, the guys that they are recruiting right now in 2025 could bring that back. Speaking of bringing guys back, TJ Alfred, the committed linebacker from Vero Beach High School, I'm sure Miami isn't throwing in the towel on this one. Any word on when Alfred will return to Coral Gables for a visit?
Well, there's no official date set just yet. When I spoke to Alfred before he announced his commitment, he said, regardless of where I go, I'm going to be speaking to a select group of schools after I pledge my allegiance to a program, and I'll be taking a couple of visits just to see if, it fits perfect for me. Obviously, that was a guy that was really, really high on Miami's board. They're not going to give up on Alfred, and Alfred's keeping communications with a select group of schools. So I won't be surprised if I see him pop out, on Miami's campus in the next coming months.
Yeah, and these Ohio State-Miami battles are always fun. Last year, we, of course, remember the Jeremiah Smith one, but Miami scored some major wins as well, flipping five-star defensive lineman Justin Scott and then nabbing Jordan Lyle there at the end. And another big battle brewing over a premier wide receiver, and that's Jamie French. I know Ohio State leads on the recruiting prediction machine for French, but do you think the Canes are still a legitimate threat, and how important do you think the season is going to be for French's decision?
I really do think Miami's a threat with Jamie French. They were his first ever scholarship offer. I know it's a different staff, but he says that holds a lot of weight, and Miami has a special place in his heart for that. But Coach Cristobal and Coach Kevin Beard are doing all that they can to keep him in the state of Florida, not let him go elsewhere. And like you said, I think this season is going to be a very, very good indication on his interest in Miami. Obviously, it's easy to always say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to win games, our receivers are going to look great, but you have to show it. And at the end of the day, I think that might be one of the biggest things that factor in his decision. Can Miami's wide receivers produce at a high level and consistently? We saw last year Xavier Restrepo, a 1,000-yard receiver. He did very well under Coach Beard, under Coach Dawson. So if they can continue that and add in the wins, I think that's a perfect formula to keep Jamie French in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, and it's really Ohio State versus the field in the state of Florida. All three teams in the state trying to keep Jamie French in. Now, another one that all three teams in the state are battling Ohio State for, I should say, is Bernell Brown III. He's an Ohio State lean. If you read the RPM, a couple picks for him went in over the weekend, but Miami hosted him on a visit over the weekend. Where does Miami stand right now? And this one's kind of been all over the board because at first he was a lean to Florida. He's a Florida legacy. His parents went there. Then you see Ohio State trending. I mean, I just have a feeling that this recruitment's not over.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing up in Ohio State. Well, obviously they're sending guys to the league, but man, can they attract these Florida guys to Columbus? I do think this is a very, very tough battle. Kind of like I was just saying, there's one team I don't want to be on the recruiting trail against when I'm recruiting an elite wide receiver. It's Brian Hartline and those guys. But, like I said, Miami's not going to give up on Bernell Brown. He's been a guy since he won a 7-on-7 tournament last summer. Miami's been all over him, all over his recruitment. And they got him back down to Coral Gables like last weekend, like you said, with his dad this time as well, the Florida legacy. And he locked in an official visit. He said the interest is very, very high. Like you said, RPMs are all pointing to Ohio State's way, but I do think Miami's going to fight tooth and nail to try to keep him in the Sunshine State. They really, really like him. And they really like him on and off the field. So a guy they're high on and a guy they're going to fight to the very end for as well.
Yeah. No doubt. And that Miami recruiting board, it's heating up and it's deep with talent. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks. It's going to be fun. Canesport does a great job of covering all things football and recruiting. You guys go check it out. Izubee Charles, thanks for taking the time to join the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
Thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel. And also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.